All right, boys, we back, bro. It's been a minute. It's been a couple of days. I had, it was Memorial Day week, and my family came to visit, and I was like, man, I'm not gonna record a video while I'm with my family. Like, let me just hang out with them. Don't worry, we're back, and we're starting off real big. We're starting back off with a little bit of the Bible, and we're on the book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes, yeah. And for all of you that don't know, essentially, this book is about how we're constantly trying stuff to fulfill that hole, that hole in our heart, and we try this, we try that, and everything that we try is so promising at first. It's like exciting, it's novel, but then at some point, it it either doesn't amount to much or we lose interest. Um, and it's about this idea that a man by himself is futile, man without God is futile. Um, and so yeah, let's just and the author of this book, he calls himself the Quester. Cold name, bruh. The Quester. The Quester knows. So this is just how he starts off, right? He starts off. This is the first couple lines. These are the words of the Quester, David's son and king in Jerusalem. Smoke, nothing but smoke. There's nothing to anything. It's all smoke. What's there to show for a lifetime of work? A lifetime of working your fingers to the bone. One generation goes its way. The next one arrives, but nothing changes. It's business as usual for old planet Earth. The sun comes up and the sun goes down, and then does it again and again, the same old round. And so, all the rivers flow into the sea, but the sea never fills up. The rivers keep flowing to the same old place and then start all over again. Everything's boring, utterly boring. No one can find meaning in it. Boring to the eye, boring to the ear. And so it's like, his point in saying this, essentially, planet Earth, it's the same thing, bro. Life on Earth is repeated patterns. It's just smoke. He uses this phrase a lot. All it is just smoke. It's just an illusion. It's all this suffering, all this trauma, all the good times, the bad times, all the caring about your job and the caring about this and that and the buying of these things and all that. It's just smoke, right? And then on line line 11, he says, nobody remembers what happened yesterday and the things that will happen tomorrow. Nobody, and the things that will happen tomorrow, nobody will remember them either. Don't count on being remembered. Don't count on being remembered. And it's interesting because we're at before the internet, before social media was big, they would say it was what are they, 24-hour news cycle? What would they say? A week-long news cycle? Like what's in the like what's in the news now won't be in the news in a week, right? It's so rapidly increased that it's like what you see in the like, especially on TikTok. It's like once you see this thing and you're like, oh my god, this is awesome, I can't wait to remember that. You never remember it again. You go 5 videos down, you forgot what you just saw 5 years before. So as the news cycle has rapidly gotten quicker and more rapid, instead of being like, yo, this is futile to even try to be remembered, a lot of us are pushing even further. We're like, no, we're trying even harder to be remembered, even though it's getting more futile, and we're doing and people are like clip farming, and people are doing engagement baiting and all this stuff in the midst of being remembered. And even something like OnlyFans, right? Like, a lot of those people that do OnlyFans are only like I mean, yes, they have enough money to last a lifetime, but a lot of times they're only famous for like a year, 2 max, right? Like all these things, no matter, even though the people that have done the worst of the worst things, Shannon Sharp, that whole Shannon Sharp debacle where he's in deposition with that woman for like with that freaking 19-year-old, it was the biggest news you've ever heard of in your life, and now a couple weeks later, no one even cares. Because the next thing happened, because Streamer University happened, because this happened, and all this smoke is in our face. While the real more intense stuff, like the wars that are going on in the world, the stuff that's going in Afghanistan with the woman, or not Afghanistan, Iran, stuff happening in Ukraine, the stuff happening in Palestine, like all this stuff. We're focused on like freaking who's wearing what to the Met Gala, right? Like we're in this weird spot, where that's smoke. But even the news about the other stuff is, even if it's horrific, I think is smoke as well in terms of the Quester's view of things. It's all smoke, right? Like, this. essentially, like, this is gonna sound really bad. Bear with me, but like 9/11, horrific thing that happened in the U.S. That for a lot of generations is this horrific thing, but for newer generations, it's like the most it's memeable to the point where it's like, it's in Rick and Morty, but they don't do they say we almost did a 9/11, right? Like it's like something that could be so horrific for one generation can get turned to a joke for another, right? Like it's like, I don't know, and it's all smoke essentially. And so we continue on. Let's continue on. Hopefully that all made sense. Okay, so let me flip to the next page. So he says this, right? I said to myself, this is the quester talking. I said to myself, I know more and I'm wiser than anyone before me in Jerusalem. I've stockpiled wisdom and knowledge. That's what he said to himself, quotes. But then he said, what I've finally concluded is that this so-called wisdom and knowledge are mindless and witless, nothing but spitting into the wind. This pursuit, right? Hold on, we keep going though. I said to myself, let's go for it, experiment with pleasure and have a good time. But there was nothing to it, nothing but smoke. So, he tried to indulge in hedonism or just like, pleasuring the flesh, nothing to it. What do I think of the fun-filled life? Inane. Insane. My verdict on the pursuit of happiness? Who needs it? With the help of a bottle of wine, all of the wisdom I could muster, I tried my level best to penetrate the absurdity of life. I wanted to get a handle on anything useful we mortals might do during the years we spent on this earth. So he spends this little block of time, like he said, with a bottle of wine. The bottle of wine and him just like being pleasureful. He's trying to, and on this pursuit of happiness, he's trying to understand the absurdities of life and try to understand, essentially the fruit of knowledge, right? He's trying to understand what God is up to and what's going on. And so this is what he says, right? Like, I did great things. I built houses. I planted vineyards. I designed gardens. He says all this stuff, right? Oh, how I prospered. I left all my predecessors in Jerusalem far behind, left them behind in the dust. And so everything I wanted, I took. I never said no to myself. I gave in to every impulse, held back nothing. This is a beautiful line. I sucked the marrow of pleasure out of every task, my reward to myself for a hard day's work. So this is what he was doing. This is what the quester was doing. The quester was indulging this life and saying, never going to say no to myself. I'm going to do every impulse. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to say yes to everything. No discipline, right? And then I took a good look at everything I'd done. I looked at all the sweat and hard work. But when I looked, I saw nothing but smoke. Smoke and spitting into the wind. There was nothing to any of it, right? We all see this in our everyday life. When you sit there and you doom scroll for a couple hours, you're like, some part of you is like, oh my God, like I'm getting so much information. But the majority part of you knows it's useless. Like, you will not use the information. You're not going to go back into your likes and you're oh, I'm going to like this thing. I'll remember it later. When do you go back in your likes? And if you do go back in your likes, you've liked 100 things. So how are you going to find that? Right. It's like we're trying to convince ourselves that there is something purposeful or profound in this pleasurable life, but it's not. It's nothing but smoke. It's nothing but smoke. We are lying to ourselves, right? Okay. And when I realized that my fate is the same as the fool's, I had to ask myself. So he's talking about. Oh, let me go back. Sorry, that made no sense. And then I took a hard look at what's smart and what's stupid. What's left to do after you've been king. That's a hard act to follow. You do what you can, and that's it. But I did see that it's better to be smart than stupid, just as light is better than darkness. Even so, though the smart ones see where they are going and the stupid ones grope in the dark, they're all the same in the end. One fate for all, and that's it. And that fate is death. Like, it doesn't matter how smart you are, how dumb you are, how smart you pretend you to be, or you die, right? And so when I realized that my fate's the same as the fool's, I had to ask myself, so why bother being wise? It's all smoke, nothing but smoke. The smart and the stupid both disappear out of sight. In a day or two, they're both forgotten. Yes, both the smart, the stupid die, and that's it, right? Like, in a day or two, they're forgotten, right? Like, we Betty White, she was 99, almost lived to 100. This woman who's prolific, right? Even the Queen of England, who died, prolific. Nobody gives a crap after a couple. Like, dude, if the Queen of England is forgotten so quickly, and Betty White, and let's just, I don't know, I'm not lumping. These are all not equal people, right? But Matt, like, that's, I mean, they are in the way that Ecclesiastes, unless the way the Quester is talking about it, they are. Everyone's the same, right? You all die and you're forgotten in a couple days. Like, even someone like, Matthew Perry, who was in such, a show that really like was important to a lot of people's, growing up or like adolescence or whatever. And when he played in Friends, and he overdosed and he died horrifically. He lost his battle with addiction. And someone like me, bro, like Mac Miller, he died like over 5 years. I think it's been a while. Like, to me, I think about him a lot, right? He's not forgotten in 2 days, right? But that's only because I'm like, I love this guy so much, bro. But for the majority of people like that aren't diehard fans, right? Like, these people are gone forever. Like, it's a sad thing to say. You're only remembered by your family, and even not that much, right? Like, there's plenty of people who it's gonna be harder nowadays because we have videos and stuff, and we can rewatch people's lives. But like, for the older generation, when their parents died and stuff like that, it's like you forget their voice, you forget what they hear, sound like, you forget what they smell like. And so, his point is like, what is the point of this? Like, what is the point of caring about being so wise and being so smart when we are all forgotten in a day or two, right? Like, the Queen of England, these very important people. If they're forgotten, then why would I care so much to, don't count on being remembered, right? Because it's futile. Okay. So then he starts cooking in chapter 3, but I want to get to this part where he says this. I just took this is if you guys want to follow along, this is line 16, chapter 3. I took another good look at what's going on. The very place of judgment corrupt. The place of high righteousness corrupt. I said to myself, God will judge righteous and wicked. There's a time for everything, every deed, and there's no getting around it. I said to myself regarding the human race, God's testing the lot of us, showing us up as nothing but animals. Humans and animals come to the same end. Humans die, animals die. We all breathe the same air, so there's really no advantage in being human. And in this very philosophical way that he's speaking, the Quester's thinking, I would go even further. It's not that there's no advantage in being human. I think there's a disadvantage, because if we draw lines to a couple different lines, he said, and we point to. So he says, there's no advantage in being human. Why bother being wise? It's all smoke, nothing but smoke. What I finally concluded is that so-called wisdom and knowledge are mindless and witless, nothing but spitting into the wind. Like, yes, like, we are obviously different. Like, the only difference between us and the animals is that we find comfort in our ego and pretend that our pursuit of happiness and that our pursuit of knowledge is profound, is purposeful, rather than understanding its futility. Like, we're actually at a disadvantage because we were born with this consciousness, this self-awareness to try to explore what's going on, but it's futile. And so, honestly, this existentialism paralyzes a lot of people, puts a lot of people in depression. Ignorance is a bliss, but what is more ignorant than a cow, right? What is more ignorant than being an animal? Like, and so there's no advantage in being a human. Maybe there's a disadvantage in being a human in the way he's speaking. Maybe it's disadvantageous to be human because we were essentially cursed with knowledge, but it's like not really knowledge because we don't actually know what's going on at all. We just like to pretend like we were cursed with an ego. We were cursed with like this, this desire to explore and to be curious, but with the inability to actually understand what we're curious about. And we can get close, but even something like, even our measurement tools. Like, if I take a ruler and I try to measure my desk, I'm always rounding it with my eye, but the ruler itself is rounding, to the nearest nanometer, whatever it is, right? Like our, tools to measure accuracy are kind of piss poor. There's always a better way to get more accurate, and the true accuracy can only be measured by the creator. essentially, right? Like, so it's like we've been cursed with this, like, this feigning of pursuing of knowledge when we could never actually understand anything. Sorry, I almost cussed, right? And so it's like, the pursuit of wisdom and knowledge is futile. It's witless. It's mindless, because it's all smoke. It's all just telling ourselves we understand things that we don't understand. It's all smoke. And so, at least the cow is just the cow, bro. At least the cow is just sitting there. It's eating the grass. It's going about its day. I'm not saying. I mean, it might be sentient. We might not know, but it's just doing its thing. Same with the cat. Same with the dog. It's just doing its thing. We're like not even we're like so against doing our thing, and then like trying to logic ourselves out of like we've taken ourselves fully out of nature, put ourselves in an air conditioned box, and given ourselves like duties to find purpose. Like giving ourselves some bullshit duties. Like, oh yeah, your duty is to be your goal in life is to be a project manager. It's like, okay, well, I don't know about that, right? And this is not like I don't mean to be. This is not like to be cynical about the world. It's just I'm trying to think. I'm trying to put myself in the mind space of what the quester was talking about here. What was the quester thinking when he was writing Ecclesiastes? So we continue on, right? And we get to chapter 5, where it starts going crazy. Watch your step when you enter God's house. Enter to learn. That's far better than mindlessly offering a sacrifice. We're gonna get back to that. I got notes for this. Don't be too quick to tell God what you think he wants to hear. God's in charge, not you. The less you speak, the better. Overwork makes for restless sleep. Overtalk shows you up as a fool. When you tell God you'll do something, do it now. God takes no pleasure in foolish drivel. Vow it and then do it. Far better not to vow in the first place than to vow and not pay up. But against all illusion and fantasy and empty talk, there's always this rock foundation. Fear God. Okay. This is what I wrote. Watch your step when you enter God's house, right? This is rough for that. And so, have I entered God's house to learn, or am I mindlessly offering a sacrifice, right? God, I will do X, Y, and Z if you just do this. God, I will give up X, Y, and Z, And so, essentially, like, I have some sort of idealist view of God, or a part of me still has a transactional view. We talked about this when I read Psalms 119. It's essentially like, I'm saying, I'm coming to him with mindlessly offering sacrifice of, oh, here, I'll give up this thing to be with you. I'll do this thing to be with you. I'll give up, I'll sacrifice whatever. But that's not what he's asking. He's just asking you to come into the house and learn. He doesn't need, like, yes, Jesus a lot of times asked, his disciples, hey, if you want to walk with me, just give up all your earthly possessions, right? There was some sacrifice in that. But I think the way I'm doing it is not. I'm still trying to learn, And so, also, don't be too quick to tell God what you think he wants to hear. A lot of time when I talk to God, I try to, loophole my way out of things, or try to say things in a certain way rather than understanding that he hears my heart, And I try to say things in the perfect way or in the God-fearing way, but sometimes I think you just have to say it how it is and say it how you feel. And lastly, like, how many times have I told God I'm going to do something and I vowed it and I didn't do it? And he's saying God hates this foolish, he takes no pleasure in this foolish drivel, right? Like, it's better not to say you're going to do something than to say you're going to do it and not do it. Like, it's better, just don't even say it at all, right? And I don't know. It's like, and then lastly, it's like, if God's in charge, not you, the less you speak, the better. I think I speak 90% and then listen 10%, and I think it should be the other way around. I should listen 90% of the time and be in silence, and then talk for 10%. Like, that's how I think I need to get to. I don't need to do anything, but like, that's where I wish to be, right? And so we continue on to like line 10. The one who loves money is never satisfied with money. And then I'm reading, like, not every line. I'm just reading the lines I liked. Whether supper is beans or steak, Oh, hard and honest work earns a good night's sleep, whether supper is beans or steak. But a rich man's belly gives him insomnia. Here's a piece of bad luck I've seen happen. A man hoards far more wealth than is good for him. It's almost like the saying, like my eyes had a bigger appetite than my stomach, right? Like man desires more than what he needs, and more that's than good for him, you know. Because it's like if we're moving from a survival to abundance to just greed, right? I think a lot of people go from after you escape survival, you get to abundance, and you're like, that's not enough. And when you say that's not enough after you have everything you need, you enter greed, in which that's not good for you, right? Um, okay, so we continue on. We're in chapter 6 now. Verse 7. We work to feed our appetites. Meanwhile, our souls go hungry. I just thought that was such a bar. Like, and this is after the quester is talking about, like, he's saying, say a couple have scores of children and live a long, long life, but never enjoy themselves, even though they end up with a big funeral. I'd say that a stillborn baby gets the better deal. It gets its start in a mist and ends up in the dark, unnamed. It sees nothing and knows nothing, but is better off than anyone living. Even if someone lived 1,000 years, make it 2,000, but didn't enjoy anything, what's the point? Doesn't everyone end up in the same place? You know, and so I guess like we work to feed our appetites. Meanwhile, our souls go hungry. Like everything we do is to feed our appetite, not like I mean, it could be literally, right? You know, and like he said in the very first chapter, we work until our hands are bony, right? We feed our dopamine appetite. We know, and in this day and age, in this late stage capitalism, companies have now realized that the most valuable resource that they can exploit is our attention. And addiction, like, I mean, addiction has always been a thing. The crack epidemic in the 80s, right? Like the fat epidemic going on, like there's always been a push towards addiction, but now it's like an addiction of our time, an addiction of our attention. And so, like, while we're feeding that's why when you spend like a long time doom scrolling, bro, you feel awful, and it's because your soul is starving, bro. Starving for like creativity, or starving to be, touched or paid attention to, or starving to like be reconnected with the higher power, while you're just mindlessly scrolling. But it's really not to a point, you have to take responsibility, but a lot of times it's not our faults. They're doing a good job. These companies are doing what they're, made to do, which is keep our attention and keep us addicted. Chapter 7, a good reputation is better than a fat bank account. I love this line. Crying is better than laughing. It blotches the face, but it scores the heart. And I was talking to someone at work about this a while ago. I think when I was younger, I hated crying because, classic socialize as a man. But now I just love crying. I love it because when I cry, I get so happy because it's like, oh man, I've been needing to get that one out. Like I have a feeling when it's being built up, but it's like, man, I'm a human. Like, yes, like when I cry, it makes me reconnect with my heart. It makes me remember, like, yes, like, and it validates, like, yes, I am a human. I'm not some AI robot that's just like walking around mindlessly, being emotional. It's like, yes, like, it scores the heart. It blotches the face, but it scores the heart. And I love that. And sage invest themselves in hurt and grieving. Fools waste their lives in fun and games. And what he's meaning by that is like the sage is okay doing the shadow work. The sage is okay looking in the mirror and being like, we have work to do. There's things to do. Like, the sage is okay, like, spending years. There was no therapy this time, but, like, that type of stuff. Like, spending time in therapy, spending time working on ourselves, spending time crying, spending time, like, grieving, being upset, right? Like, spending time trying to end generational curses. That's what the sage is doing. The fools waste their time in fun and games, and it's like, it's okay to play fun, and it's okay to, have a good time. But if that's all you're doing, then you're feeding your appetite and you're leaving your soul hungry. And then we get to line 11. Wisdom is better when it's paired with money, especially if you get both while you're still living. Double protection. Wisdom and wealth. Plus this bonus, wisdom energizes its owners. Take a good look at God's work. Who could simplify and reduce creation's curves and angles to a plain straight line? On a good day, let me read that again. Hold on. Who could simplify and reduce creation's curves and angles to a plain straight line? I didn't really understand this line when I first read it. Is what the questioner is meaning by this is saying like life is like this, and to reduce it to this is a bit silly. Like who could simplify? Who could reduce this life to just this straight line of linear growth, right? On a good day, enjoy yourself, and on a bad day, examine your conscience. God arranges for both kinds of days so that we won't take anything for granted. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's a beautiful thing. Like, lean on God in the good days and lean on Him in the bad days. And both, like, He leaves, like, if we're thinking about block scheduling, or when we schedule out our days or our months, like, imagine scheduling out your life, right? Like, He's just like, oh, like, okay, I'm giving you these big wins with wins. Maybe you have a little bad day here. It rains and you get yelled at work. That's okay though. Like, it's just to it's to keep you like in the center, because you always need to be humbled, because that's when greed comes in. That's when pride comes in, and those things are no bueno, right? And then this is line. We're still in chapter 7. This is line 18. It's best to stay in touch with both sides of an issue. A person who fears God deals responsibly with all of reality, not just a piece of it. And this is like, after he's saying like, so don't knock yourself out on being good and don't go overboard being wise. Believe me, you won't get anything out of it. But don't press your luck by being bad either. And don't be reckless. Why die needlessly? It's like, it's finding the balance, right? And then the beginning of chapter 8, I was kind of confused. So help me out if you guys can help me out. There's nothing better than being wise. Knowing how to interpret the meaning of life, wisdom puts light in the eyes and gives gentleness to words and manners. So he's saying nothing's better than being wise, but in chapters 1 and 2 and 3, he talks about that wisdom is nothing but smoke, and wisdom... Oh, wow. I need to read better. When he says, what I finally concluded is that that so-called wisdom and knowledge are mindless and witless, nothing but spitting in the wind. And this is knowledge and wisdom of like pleasureful activities, like of like hedonism, of like this life of pleasure that he lived, where he's saying, I know more and I'm wiser than anyone before me. Like this wisdom that comes from pride and ego, not grace and humility. Oh, wow. Okay, so he's saying true wisdom. Like, he's talking about true wisdom now, right? Okay. Wow. Okay. Anyways, and then we go to chapter 14. Good people get what's coming to the wicked, here's something that happens all the time and makes no sense at all. Good people get what's coming to the wicked, and bad people get what's coming to the good. I tell you, this makes no sense. It's smoke. And so I'm all for just going ahead and having a good time, the best possible. It's just hard, you know what I mean? Like, is that true? Do the good people get what's coming to the wicked? Do we bear the burden of the wicked sins on earth? Because after our time on earth, we'll be chilling and they won't be. But I don't like that. I hope everyone's chilling. You know what I mean? Because here's my thing about heaven and hell is like, I don't want to doom someone for eternity for being sinful, right? Like, we're all sinful. We're all equal, and we all could die in the same way, right? And even if someone's horrible, I think like, there's people like if they took some psychedelics, if they open up their mind, like I believe any person can be good. Is that a crazy thing to say? It might be a little bit ignorant and naive. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want someone to be internally damned, right? Like, I want the belief that, like, let's just say after a terrible person dies, right? A horrible person murders so many people, and he gets to the gates, and God's like, here's what you've done. and that person repents in the afterlife, and that because finally that person's at a third eyes open because they're in the spiritual realm now, and they're like, oh man, no, like they really understand what they've done. Like obviously they're gonna repent, but when they're, you know, in the prison of their earthly mind, like I don't know, am I justifying things? I don't know. That's just thoughts. And I love this line right here. He says in chapter 9, line 9. Oh, yes, God takes pleasure in your pleasure. Seize life. Eat bread with gusto. Drink wine with a robust heart. Dress festively every morning. Don't skimp on colors and scarves. Relish life with the spouse you love each and every day of your precarious life. Like, he's saying God takes pleasure in your pleasure. And I just love that. Okay. We're almost done. Chapter 10. Line 10. Remember, the duller the axe, the harder the work. Use your head. The more brains, the less muscle. And it's like, how do I sharpen my axe, my spiritual axe? Like, and I think it's by doing this. It's by being in this book. It's by talking to God. It's by, you know. And for those people that aren't Christians, like I'm sure if I'm a Christian man, I think more Gnostic with a G, but I think whatever your higher power is. I remember my first therapist. She was telling me that she would tell people, you know, go talk to your higher power, and some people would be like, I don't have one. What are you talking about? And then she'd be like, well, what do you like to do? Like, and this one woman was like, I'd just love to go to the beach. And she said, well, treat the water as your higher power. And the interesting thing about that is, like, water is sentient. Water is a very sentient thing. So you can treat the water as your higher power, right? So it doesn't matter. I'm just saying, like, how do I sharpen my axe? And I think it's by building up my spiritual aura. Like, literally, like, being like Goku with my ki just fucking, sorry. Anyways. And then this line I had a question about. So if anyone's still watching, if y'all in the chat could, like, in the comments, could tell me what this means. If the snake bites before it's been charmed, what's the point in then sending for the charmer? Like, what is he trying to say there? I'm having a hard time in my head. And we'll keep going. Laughter and bread go together, and wine gives sparkle to life, but it's the money that makes the world go around. Loose talk has a way of getting picked up and spread around. And then chapter 11, don't sit there watching the wind. Do your own work. Don't stare at the clouds. Get on with your lone life. I love that. I think because I think I do that a lot, where I go outside and, like, waiting for things to happen, you know, waiting for things magically to unfold in my life, you know, through faith, but, like, without ever buying a ticket. Like, I'm just sitting there, like, talking to the clouds and looking at the sky and being like, but then I go inside and I don't do any work. I just rot on my phone or whatever. Look at the dog. And then line 8, and what? Take delight in each light-filled hour, remembering that there will always be so many dark days, and that most of what comes your way is smoke. Like, most of the bad stuff that happens to you is stuff you won't even remember. It's smoke. It will make you into who you are going to be, but it's smoke. Do I remember, like, anything that happened before I was, like, 12? Not really. No, maybe even 16. Chapter 12. Honor and enjoy your Creator while you're still young, before the years take their toll and your vigor outwanes, before your vision dims and the world blurs, and the winter years keep you close to the fire. And your winter years keep you close to the fire. Because we think about, dude, winter years, what he means by that is, like, after your childhood innocence is ripped from you and you become, like, almost like a slave to capitalism, you become a slave to the workplace where your dreams and aspirations die, and you're just your soul, you have no soul, and you're just keeping warm at the campfire. But I love that line. And we're getting to the end here. Line 8, the spirit returns to God who first breathed it. It's all smoke, nothing but smoke. The quester says that everything is smoke. Fear God and what he tells you, and that's it. So just think about that. Like, when something bad happens or something good, you know, even good things. That's why I think there's definitely lines in the Bible that talk about, even when great things happen, don't be so prideful about it. Don't, like, get too ecstatic. You can celebrate, right? Obviously celebrate, but don't get too crazy. Don't like put your eggs in that basket of, like, this good thing happening, because it's smoke, bro. Anyways, yeah, man, it's all smoke. It's all smoke. So we keep pushing, because this might be smoke too. I might come back with 400 videos posted and have this, you know. But I love y'all. I know it's a long one. So I appreciate y'all, guys, girls, gays, queers, they, them, these, or any all. Anyone have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful rest of your Tuesday. I hope you all had a great Memorial Day weekend, and I'll catch you guys on a beautiful Wednesday.